Hey everybody, welcome back to Brainiac Baseball's 1983 Detroit Tigers season replay. We have just completed the month of July, and so it is time for our end of the month standings and league leaders summary video. I think because we do have the trade deadline that just ended, what we'll do is take a look back at the trades that we've made up till now and see how our former Tigers are doing on their new teams. So let's take a moment and look at the standings. Here we are. As you can see, we're a half game back with 2 months to go. Of course, I think this is how it's going to go with New York and Boston being right there till the very end. I don't think this game has the ability to allow a team to run away, which is very frustrating. We were 41-17 at one point, and we've had to come back to the pack in order to make this an interesting season. That's really unfortunate. And if you don't believe me, let's take a look here real quick at the calendar. You'll see that we finished the month of July 13-12. Let's quickly take a look at the rest of the teams in the American League. Baltimore 11-13. Boston 13-12. The Angels 12-14. White Sox 12-12. Right? I think you're getting the picture. Cleveland, they got rocked. They were the one team that lost a ton, but we'll take a look at Seattle. Seattle went 18-8, so they cancel each other out, right? Well, the Tigers, we were one game above. The Royals, one game above. The Brew Crew, 12-12. Minnesota, 12-12. The Yankees, 2 games up, 13-11. That's how they got the lead from us. Oaktown, 1 game above. Texas, 12-14, so 2 games under. That cancels out the Yankees. And Toronto, 11-12. So, again, there is something seriously wrong with the programming in this game where you could get out to maybe the way we started, 41-17 or whatever it was. It was something like that. That's probably indicative of the quality of players that we had at the time. But whatever the governor is, it's built into this game that will not allow you to run away with it. All the teams for the month of July are all within 1 or 2 games of 500, with the exception of Seattle and Cleveland, which offset each other with those larger margins. And that is really frustrating because I know now, I believe wholeheartedly that every team is going to be a 500 team all the way to the end. Can we get 1 or 2 more wins somehow miraculously in the next 2 months? That's the question. So, okay, that's not what you're here for. You're here for the statistics. So let's go back to the standings real quick. And for what it's worth, Oakland and California still in it, and Baltimore technically still in it. I don't think Baltimore and Oakland have a shot in hell, to be honest. We'll take a look at the National League. The Mets jumped back ahead of Montreal. It's really going to come down to those 2 teams. Atlanta, Los Angeles, and San Diego. Really still technically all in it, but I can't imagine San Diego making a run. Los Angeles, they have they have the ability, they have the pitching staff to really make a run, I guess, if Atlanta falters, but otherwise that division is probably over with. So I'm not sure what there is to look forward to in the National League, to be honest. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to let's do the transactions first. There was not any trades at all to end the month. We usually do this at the end of each game. We'll take a look at the transactions, but there was nothing to report other than Mike Brewer, who retired, which nobody cares. So there was no trade. In fact, there was not a single trade by an opposing team, not the Tigers, since June 22nd. So how is that possible? How can that be? How can the game's programming have a trade deadline at the end of July and then not have a trade that's a non-Tiger trade in over a month, in 5 weeks? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, man. So these are, these are all the in-season trades. So let's just take a look real quick. We don't have to spend a ton of time here, but I'm sure we all have some curiosity in how things are playing out. Mark Littel was traded. He's a closer at the time for Seattle. He was traded to Seattle, and then he didn't even make the team. He is now officially in the bullpen, not a reliever. I don't know how that happened or why, despite having very good ratings, but he is on the team now. And Mack and Bosio are not in the majors. Dave Stapleton, this was a good deal. It seemed like for Seattle at the time. They got a Gold Glove winning first baseman, and he's looking like he's putting up decent numbers. An OPS just over 700, which is not great. He doesn't walk. His on-base percentage is terrible. But overall, a pretty solid trade for Seattle, anchoring first base and giving them a good defensive player as well. In return, Boston got a couple schlubs. And then Dennis Littlejohn was traded to Boston, and he's their everyday catcher. Having an okay year, 10 home runs. He walks a ton. So a 351 on-base percentage. And I believe he's leading off for that team. So that looks like a good deal for Boston. They're still in it, so you have to give them credit for that. And then we made our first big deal. The first trade in season. We got Chet Lemon from Milwaukee because we really needed a center fielder. And we were going to move Rickey Henderson to left field, and then Gibby would have been our DH. But that didn't happen because Lemon played 37 games for us, was not great, and didn't even steal a base. Wow. And then he got injured for the season, and that was it. So that was like a wah-wah moment. We gave up a ton of mediocre talent. I don't think any of these players, other than Dave Patterson, has made it to the majors. Patterson is in the bullpen right now and has pitched 2 games, has been horrible. Everybody else, not Gary Hancock, and these players are not Tom Hume, I don't think. No, he's in AAA. Then we turned around and traded Chuck Carr and a couple $100,000 to St. Louis for Terry Kennedy. This was a great trade. Terry Kennedy batting .295 in a Tigers uniform. He hadn't played in the majors since 1980, which is just weird to think about. And he's basically taken over our everyday role at catcher because Lance Parrish has been so horrible. And we do have a little bit of a platoon going on. We also got Roy Thomas in the deal, and Roy Thomas has been a really nice surprise. Opponents are batting .171 against him. And he's actually a right-handed setup man right now. So good job by him. And Mike Pagliarulo is in AA, and he could be a third baseman when Brett, his contract is up. And then things went haywire for Atlanta. They traded Milt Thompson to the Mets, which seemed like a great deal, and then he got put on the bench with subsequent trades. Atlanta traded away Ron Gardenhire. The Mets traded away Ron Gardenhire, who is the everyday shortstop for the Braves. Batting .286, not bad, only 1 home run. Joel Youngblood went to Atlanta. He's riding the pine. 4th outfielder. And Ed Glenn is in the bullpen, I believe. Yeah. So at least all 3 players are on a roster. Everybody's rostered, which is something. Then Atlanta traded a minor leaguer for a couple schlubs. This was a nobody cares deal. Mike Hart of Minnesota went to the Mets. He took over the center field position, which sent Mookie Wilson to the minor leagues. I think I would rather have Mookie, despite being a pretty solid defender in all three outfield positions. He has 8 home runs. I mean, what are you going to do? Come on. And then John Pacella went back. I don't think he's on the roster yet. He's in AAA. Moving on, Rick Mahler went to Toronto. A pitcher they probably could use in the majors, but he's not in there. And Toronto sent to Atlanta Lynn Jones, who is an everyday player, no home runs, right field, come on. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. Mitch Webster, not there yet. Then there was another trade here. It looks like George Riley for Mark Corey. I think Mark Corey is getting some at-bats. Not doing a lot. These are all so inconsequential. Now, here's a deal. I thought end of May, we already suffered the injury to Dan Petry and to Bert Blyleven. So I was holding off until the end of May to go after Joaquin Andahar, who was available, a great name pitcher, and his contract was up at the end of the year, and he wasn't making a lot of money. Seemed like a good deal at the time, and he's been a smelly porta-john for us. I mean, this guy has absolutely not helped us at all. He hasn't even eaten up innings. In 11 starts for Houston, he went 74 innings and 10 starts for us. He hasn't even averaged 5 innings a start. He's just been terrible. And we gave up Bruce Robbins, who's an everyday starter for them, and he's been terrible. And then giving them, like, what is that, 17 more innings of work and 2 more starts. So Bruce Robbins not doing particularly well in Houston. Andre Dawson, he's a 4th outfielder, hasn't even hit a home run, although he's batting .312, so good job by him. And we got Rich Gedman and Dwight Lowry. We sent over there too, so no big deal there. And then Jack Clark, who the Giants kept offering us. We said no, despite him putting up some good numbers. In retrospect, it might have been a smart move, but we didn't want to take on that payroll. I had already traded for Lemon, and his, Lemon was what, $700,000 or something. But not doing much for the Dodgers. They gave up some schlubs. And then Danny Tartabull just started getting traded like crazy. Tartabull, after getting called up, was traded to Atlanta. Didn't even get an at-bat because he was traded 2 days later to the Yankees. But the big deal in this trade was Ken Smith, a left-hander, going to Exhibition Stadium, hit 15 home runs already, and 26 combined. If he was on a better team in the American League, he'd probably have a shot at the MVP. So the Danny Tartabull was turned around and traded to the Yankees, where he's in the minor leagues. And who knows when we'll see him. But, yeah, the Yankees get richer with Danny Tartabull. The Yankees sent Don Reynolds, who was a starter for them in '82, and he became a 4th outfielder when Steve Kemp came over and took over left field. Steve Kemp's the MVP, so that was the right move. They trade Don Reynolds to the Braves. He's in left field, not doing a whole lot. And there are some other people involved in that. Tony Arnold for Jim Whale Wonder. This was such a ripoff for the Mets. This was a trade in which Baltimore got $800,000. They needed this desperately. They were in the red, and they were not going to be able to make any trades unless he took on some cash in a deal, and that's what that was all about. Kind of amazing. Roger Holt was turned around and traded from Atlanta. They just got him from the Yankees to the Cubbies. Is he playing on the Cubs? He's got a couple games, but he's in Double-A. For Craig Lefferts, and Lefferts is, so yeah, that's nothing. Then another bizarre trade as Dan Gladden goes to Minnesota, which, I mean, he was actually on Minnesota in real life. And then Minnesota turned around and traded him after 8 games to the Mets, which was a smart move, but he was so good on the Giants and then just absolutely terrible on the other 2 teams. So I don't know what to say about that. Al Holland went to Minnesota. They stuck him in the minors for a while. Then they brought him up, and he's like a part-time closer with them. He's switching. He's a lefty closer, and they have the righty closer, which is Corbett, Doug Corbett. That's a good trade, though, I think. Tim Laudner, he was getting starts and doing really well, and then what do? They sent him down, I don't know, for Dave Ouellette. So, not great. And then Luis Rivera. Yeah, okay, so nothing there. We're almost to the end here, folks. And then then the Dan Gladden turnaround went to the Mets. Mets sent some schlubs back. Then we traded Guy Solars to the Padres, and he became their everyday third baseman. I mean, he's got decent ratings. He can play defense and anywhere in the infield. He's batting .284, so good job by Guy Solars. He deserved an opportunity. I mean, we gave him one. He started the season as our utility bench player, and he had 1 hit, which was a home run, and 29 at-bats. We even had a little contest on Facebook. How many at-bats would he go? We got Steve Mura in return, and we dumped his ass. We traded him for some old moldy peanuts. But he has made a start with Milwaukee, and you can see he took a loss. Okay, moving on here. Then we made our big trade for George Brett, questionable by the world of the baseball universe. Obviously, the Kansas City would never have traded George Brett, and I felt a little guilty about it. Plus, we got some cash money homes. We traded away 4 players. Howard Johnson, who's in Double-A, not doing anything. We also traded Jerry Uger, who is 2-0, and he's thrown 3 complete games. Like, he's thrown 9 innings in all 3 games, but he's not got a complete game. Why is that? How is that possible? I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, this game this game is clearly not operating properly. George Wright, we sent him over to, he was garbage for us. And Howard Bailey was a kicker, and he might actually turn out to be pretty good for them as a starter. Just no room for him just yet. Then we traded, it's a little discombobulated here, but we traded Rickey Henderson to Houston for Vicente Palacios. How's Rickey doing? 4 games, 5 hits, 4 stolen bases, of course. So he's doing okay, getting on base, doing what Rickey does. Maybe he needed a change of scenery. We got a couple schlubs back, and then we traded Eddie Murray. We've just seen him. He's 6 for 15. 2 of those games are against Detroit. He's got 2 stolen bases against us, too, which is ridiculous. We got Jesse Barfield back in that deal. He'll probably get called up in September. And then there's a deal where we got rid of Steve Mura, and we got a bunch of schlubs. So there's a summary of the season's trade transactions. None at the deadline. Let's go ahead and get a quick look at the leaders. We're going to take a look at the American League batting average here. Jim Rice batting .331, beating out his teammates Marty Barrett and Wade Boggs, Roy Smalley, all in the top 10. Boggs is injured. He comes back in 3 days. No Tigers in here. George Brett did all that hard work on Kansas City. He's batting .260 for us. The worst of his career, naturally. You can see the rest of the top 10 here. Tom Pagnozzi, right there. Okay, let's take a look at, let's burn through this. Doubles. Hoskin Powell has a 4-double lead over Garth Orge. Orge just had a double in today's earlier game. Grounding the double plays. Pete O'Brien. We don't care about fielding just yet. Hits. Marty Barrett, 139. No Tigers on this list. And that's a shame because Mickey Hatcher was right on this list. I think he was in the top 10, top 15, but he's done. His career might be done. Hit by pitch. Not a lot of people get hit by pitches. Brian Harper's got 5. I missed home runs. There we go. So here are the home run leaders for the American League. Ron Kittle with 26. How many 30 home run guys do you think we'll get? Will we get 10? I think the over-under is 9, right? Or would you say 10? I don't know. I'm not good at gambling. And Lou and Wilson are right there. Eddie Murray hit all 15 of his with Detroit. And Ken Smith is on the list. I mean, there should be more Toronto guys on here, you would think. I guess 1, 2, 3 left-handers. That makes sense. All right, let's take a look at, why not intentional walks? 5 for Jim Traber. Brock Ness Monsters got 3. On-base percentage is Wade Boggs, over 400. That's a miracle in this game. That never happens. Outfield assists. Dave Henderson, he's got a bazooka out there with 12. Outfield assist, no Tigers, of course. OPS, Steve Kemp, 931. He is definitely the leader down the stretch for MVP. Ribbies. Steve Kemp's got 94 in 100 games. 23 doubles, 23 home runs, batting over 300. With a 931 OPS. That, folks, is your MVP for sure. Tony Brewer, Greg Luzinski, Bob Pate. I mean, there's some really wacky names in there. Rod Allen, 70 RBIs. I don't think he had 17 RBIs in a career. Let's see here. Runs. Shooty Babbitt has the most with 78. Sweet Lou's on there. Lou's doing it all on his own at this point. Sacrifice hits. Neil Fiala's got 6 for the White Sox. Nobody sacrificed bunts in this game. Sacrifice flies. Steve Kemp's got 9. George Brett has 8. Let's see here. Slugging is Kemp, yeah. And steals. Otis Nixon has 58, and they have him batting 3rd. Oh my God! Look at his slugging. A 309 slugging, 4 doubles, 5 triples, 5 home runs. That is hilarious. Let's see here. Rickey Henderson had 44 with Detroit before we sent him to the National League. So, yeah, some interesting numbers. Oh, what's all the Shell Tarver's got for caught stealing? 16, 18 out of 34. That is a Gibby-like number. Okay, let's see here. Trips. 8 for Kevin Romberg, and Gibby's got 6. Glenn Wilson has 4. Cool. Walks. Clint Hurdle, 72. Why is he not batting second in their lineup? No one will ever know. Otto Valise has 68. Yep. Okay. And all right. So let's take a look at pitching statistics real quick. ERA. Let's go there. Teddy Higuera just edging out Mark Langston, 2.17 to 2.18. Rosie and Morris both below 4, both in the top 15. Morris has, 3 shutouts in 4 complete games, but he's given up 11 runs in 2 other games. Rosie can't get through 4 now. He's reached that point in the season where he just can't accumulate innings pitched. Games pitched, all Tigers, as you might expect, the way that I use the bullpen. Rucker just got injured for 5 games, so we're going to set him down for 10 days. Then we have who gets the most double plays? Yeah, no Tigers, of course, because despite having a great defense and pitchers that throw ground balls, that why would the game accommodate us? Let's see here. Home runs allowed. That Indians pitcher. Yeah, Larry McCall's given up 33. Bill Paschal, 30. Mike Warren, 30. Dave Rosemuth's given up 17. I guess it could be worse. Innings pitched. No Tigers on that list. Yeah. Despite throwing 4 complete games, somehow Morris can't be on the list. But it might be like our 5-man rotation too, I suppose. And none of this, none of that. Quality starts. Mark Langston with 1 more than Teddy Higuera. That might be the edge for the Cy Young Award. Runners thrown out. Who's thrown out the most from a catcher's perspective? Ron Hasse, yeah, because his arm is a 79. Oh, it's an 80 now. Brian Harper. It's all the shitty catchers. There's Dennis Littlejohn. He's the best catcher, arm-wise. Terry Kennedy has 12, despite, not playing half a season. What's the percentage-wise? Brian Harper's 40%. Lance Parrish, 32.9%. Saves. Let's take a look at saves. Dennis Eckersley with 24, followed by Mark Clear. Roger Weaver lost his closing job, but we've sort of fit him in certain situations. He's gotten 2 more. He has 19 now. We may as well put him back in the closer's role. Why not? What does it matter? Shutouts? Yeah, Jack Morris has 3, but Alan Ramirez has 5. Nice. Strikeouts pitched. Mark Langston is up 37 over Teddy Higuera. Jack Morris is on the list, but he can't throw strikeouts anymore. He gets like 1 a game. Yeah, he's had a pretty bad stretch there. Okay, there's your strikeouts pitched, and finally, wins. Mark Langston has 17. Roger Slagle has 16. Teddy Higuera and Jack Morris, 14. And you can see the rest of the top 10 here. Are there any surprises? Mike Chris of Boston has 10. Al Lakowitz, he's injured. He's done. So, okay, so there is your league leaders for the American League. Let's just flip it over to the National League here real quick. Willie McGee leading in batting average over his teammate, Jim Gantner. Home runs, the home run leader is Len Matusik of the Phillies, and also tied with Tracy Woodson of Atlanta. There's no one's going to get 30 home runs in the National League, but that is kind of accurate to what happened in real life. Runs batted in, Glenn Gulliver of the Cubbies. The National League is all the schlubby names are among the league leaders. And despite missing a month, Kim Allen has 51 stolen bases. Outside chance of getting 100. He almost did last year. He had 97. Okay, who cares about pitching? We're going to find out, though, because that's the least we can do. Let's just pull it up. There's ERA. There's wins. Here's strikeouts and saves, I guess, right? All right, J.R. Richard of Houston has a 2.08 ERA, leading the National League. There's a bunch of guys under 3. Rick Ownby, he won the Cy Young Award last year. Looks like he's in the running for sure. 17 wins for the Mets. Strikeouts, oh, that's batter strikeouts, my bad. J.R. Richard has 168. And saves is somebody named Marty Decker. For the Fathers, he's got 21 in 46 games, 26-year-old. I don't know if he ever played in the majors, but he is leading in saves. So I guess that's going to do it. I don't think we've learned anything as we flip the calendar to August. It's the dog days of summer. You'll see here we have one more game versus Toronto. We have our last series of the season versus the Yankees, and then the Brewers and the Orioles, and then it's all National League West after that. Only one day off in August. And to look ahead, there's our September lineup as we're going to finish against the Mariners, which will absolutely win the division. That's what it's going to come down to. And that's who we played last year in the playoffs. So that might be a fun way to end the season if we're still in it by then. But why wouldn't we be? If everyone plays 500 baseball, which is the game is already proven, is what's going to happen, then there's really not a lot of drama left until the last week of the season when we will find out who of the three of us will win. So, okay, that's going to do it. We're going to come back tomorrow with Game 3 of the 3-game series. Until then, everyone, have a great night.